Only two people know exactly what happened inside this gray Chevy Tahoe March 31st of 2023, but just one survived. There's no video and no reliable witnesses.
When there's no witnesses, the state has the burden of proof.
Attorney Alan Saladrigas says the state couldn't prove his client, 16-year-old Luis Resendizgama, wasn't acting in self-defense when he shot and killed William Difonzo. Saladrigas says phone records showed the two agreed to meet at the Meadowbrook mobile home community, and Luis got into Difonzo's passenger seat.
I don't know this for a fact, but you can presume that he was invited in the vehicle.
At some point, that meeting turned violent.
Somehow he was attacked. He was left bloodied, and there's evidence of strangulation. Luis is able to arm himself. We don't know how, but Mr. Difonzo, under the steering wheel on the right side, had this magnetic strip, which is used to store firearms. Presumably, he may have grabbed the firearm from the magnetic strip. He turned and discharged from the infotainment system.
Where Luis fired the gun would become critical to his stand your ground case.
The whole case came down to whether Luis was in the vehicle or outside the vehicle. Had he been outside the vehicle, understandably, it wouldn't have been self-defense, right? Because he would have been able to get away.
When Luis was arrested nearly a month later, investigators also ended up finding a note he wrote.
He was attacked, that he couldn't breathe, that he felt like he was never going to see his family again.
The state challenged the credibility of the letter, noting the wrong date of the shooting. It also accused Luis of meeting Difonzo for criminal reasons to sell him a gun. The state said that would put more of a burden on Luis to retreat before shooting in self-defense. Saladrigas called out what he called a major investigative error. In over 1,000 photos by crime scene investigators, they never closed the rear driver's side door as it would have been at the time of the shooting. So he hired his own reconstruction expert who determined this.
There was nowhere from the outside of the vehicle where he could have discharged and hit the window where it did and not struck the headrest.
In a twist, we found Difonzo himself once won a stand your ground case in 2018 after he punched and killed a man at a Lake Worth bar. Saladrigas says that history matters. In the end, the judge ruled in Luis's favor. He called the case troublesome, but wrote, even though there's a fair likelihood that he should not have escalated the use of force, the legislature has imposed a stricter burden upon the state, which has not been met.
Was I there? No. But neither was the prosecutor.
The state attorney's office declined an interview, but issued this statement saying, quote, "The Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office strives to prosecute every case with integrity and in good faith. While we respect the court's decision, we stand by our actions taken in this case." We also reached out to Difonzo's family. They declined to comment.